Hello and welcome to our special little mini home service. Welcome. Now this is a mini Christian Spiritualist service from me indoors to you indoors at the start of what's going to be quite a lengthy self-isolation period for so many of us not in the first bloom of youth. Like me, you may well remember the Asian flu and Hong Kong flu and have caught it and got over it as well. But looks like we all need to take more extreme safety measures with this virus. But here is a little boost for your inner spirit as I take you on a spiritual and prayerful journey here with me. Our order of service is much like any spiritualist church meeting that you could ordinarily visit, except it is only me presenting all the segments, prayers, reading, the address, hymns and clairvoyance. So let us begin, how we always begin, with an opening prayer. Do join me. Dear Lord, Great Spirit, God, asking at this time for all those who are sick and suffering, and for all those who are anxiously living under the shadow of a threat to their well-being and health. May they have that stress relieved and find comfort and peaceful thoughts in their waking hours and pleasant dreams while they sleep. Asking also for a blessing of healing and comfort too for all the children of this world, especially those dear young ones who are more fragile of physicality and mind. We ask also for all of the animal kingdom and the planet on which we all live, to receive the blessing of understanding and nurturing from the human race that has been given charge over it by you, the Most High, in the name of love and light. Amen. Now we come to the reading. Now usually you have a member of the congregation steps out and chooses something, but here we are. So I have chosen this reading from the Old Testament prophet Isaiah, from chapter 40 if you want to look it up, from verses 26 to 31. Lift up your eyes and look to the heavens. Who created all of these? He who brings out the starry host one by one and calls forth each of them by name. Because of his great power and mighty strength, not one of them is missing. Why do you complain, Jacob? Why do you say, Israel, my way is hidden from the Lord, my cause is disregarded by my God? Do you not know? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He will not grow tired or weary, and his understanding no one can fathom. He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. Even youths grow tired and weary, and young men stumble and fall. But those who hope in the Lord, all those who hope in the Lord, will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. There. Well, now for the address. And that is something that follows on, hopefully with inspiration from the previous reading that we often don't know. We can't guess in advance what that's going to be, but of course in this case we do know. So here is my address. Israel here is the place name where all who worship the one God lived. But Jacob, whose name in Hebrew refers to his birth when he came out holding the foot of his older brother, was later given the name Israel or Yisrael after he wrestled with the angel of God, meaning exactly that in Hebrew, that he wrestled with God. His offspring basically founded the land and all the tribes of Israel. He not only is and was considered a prophet, blessed by God, he also taught about life after death. And Jacob is revered by Judaism, Christianity and Islam. The Quran, for instance, specifically mentions that Jacob was guided and inspired and was chosen to enforce the awareness of the hereafter, among other comments that is made and written. I am sure that all the prophets and teachers whose works and lives have been recorded in ancient texts were all mediums as we understand the term. They were able to hear the voices of angels, and some were blessed to hear the voice of the Almighty. There were too many who were able to receive communications from those nearer to the astral levels, as we hear of the diviners, augurers, mediums and assorted soothsaying practitioners who were the butt of much ire and in King Saul's day were banished from both practising psychic arts and from the land of Israel itself. King Saul was the first king of Israel. Then, when Saul wanted what we might call a good jobbing medium, he couldn't find one, unsurprisingly. They had either left or gone underground. But one was found, the wise woman of Endor, who contacted the prophet Samuel and relayed the desperately desired message. He foretold disaster, and of course he was correct. Perhaps we shouldn't be inquiring of psychics and mediums what lies ahead for us in our future. Perhaps we should be satisfied, however, with the messages of comfort we receive from loved ones who prove to us that we do indeed all pass to the realms of light, provided we live as good a life as we can down here. And that they are there caring for us still, albeit from that far country. And shall we agree that Israel is a good word to describe the world and all its inhabitants at this time for the purposes of the meaningfulness of that passage that I read? There. Well, we've come to that part in our service where we're going to sing together the healing hymn. And of course, we don't have any accompaniment, and you've only got my squeaky voice to go on, but that's how it is, and it's all for the glory of God. So let us sing this healing hymn together, and I will show you that it's we have that. So if you stop your transmission and print it out or something, whatever you can do, if you don't already know the words. The transcript will be printed out on my page, so you can see it. Gracious Spirit of thy goodness, hear our anxious prayer. Take our loved ones who are suffering, 'neath thy tender care. Loving Father, hear us, hear us. Gracious Spirit, may thy presence shed a healing ray, turning all their nights of darkness into glorious day. Loving Father, hear us, hear us. Gracious Spirit, shouldst thou claim them, be their light and guide. Lead them to thy heavenly kingdom, safely by thy side. Loving Father, hear us, hear us. Well, I don't suppose that will make the charts anytime soon, but it's in the spiritual charts all the time, of course, as number one. Not with me singing it, of course. Now, I hope you enjoyed that. Singing it yourself, that is. And now we come to that part of the service, which is clairvoyance or mediumship. And that's something that no spiritualist service is without. And our spiritualist philosophy rests on mediumship. And it's included in every service other than funerals, baptisms, weddings and namings, the serious services that we conduct. But we believe in life after life, and we prove it by mediumship, bringing the two worlds closer, momentarily at least, as loved ones communicate with us who are left here. So what I'm going to do is have a quick link in, and I know that my helpers and my guides will help to bring some people close for us. And of course, because we are not in a large hall or in a church meeting place, we don't get the benefit of hearing any response, but I know that for those of you that will be able to take these messages for yourself, that would be sufficient. Well, of course, as we know, there are lots of people on the other side of life, just as there are down here. And although I can't see you there, your loved ones can. And I will receive some contact that I can pass on to you, and will be meaningful to some. Oh, all right. I have a lady who comes close to me at this time, very full-figured, and oh dear, she's telling me that when she passed over, and she's giving me the feelings of her passing. She was very dry throat, she could hardly manage anything, and she began not to be able to eat or drink anything. She could just have a dab of water, and everybody was very distressed around her. And she says that although she was slipping in and out of consciousness, her real self, as she calls it, was very aware, and was quite sorry to see everybody so upset, because she herself was free from pain, and she had had a little pain before that, and that had gone, and she just felt very rested and comfortable. But people were worrying about it and worrying about her, and she said there were quite a few people in and out of the place where she was passing, and she had a very large family. Yes, well, thank you. You have to thank them, of course, for giving you their symptoms so adequately. And before she passed over, she says really it was like somebody had got her by the throat, and she wasn't very pleasant at all. And she was very pleased actually when she actually stepped out of her old body and was free of that. She said, "You should have heard them." "Oh dear," she said, "oh, you should have heard them." And then of course after that there was some rows going on that she wishes hadn't gone on, and there was certain animosity between two siblings, and she said she just wishes that everything had been much smoother for you, because you know who you are that she's speaking with. And she's talking about the contents of her bag. She says, well, she couldn't take it with her anyway, so she didn't really mind about it, but there was a bit of problems with that, about her belongings, stuff like that. Her husband had gone before, you would understand, and we are looking at really quite. She was a very tidy person, and she's showing me that her home was always in good order, and she didn't like the way that things were being taken out of it and so on and so forth. But that's of course the way of the world, and she just wants her loved ones that she had to leave behind here, that she's perfectly well and enjoying a good meal, because that was something she was missing in the last, well, she says 3 or 4 weeks of her life she wasn't able to eat. Oh, it was very sad. Yes, everybody was very sad, this is what she's saying. And in fact, she's quite sort of proud of that, really. And she said, I never knew I was so popular, she says. So she's just joking, of course, I hope. She did have a good working life as well. she wasn't a stay-at-home mother. She looked quite smart. She used to like to look smart when she went out. In fact, she quite liked looking smart when she was indoors as well. She didn't like people to see her looking dishevelled in any way, and she was quite, she was quite strict with her own children, making sure they looked spick and span. And somebody will remember being rubbed on the face with a hanky to make sure that their face was in order before they went to see their auntie one day. Hopefully you can remember that, because that's what I'm being told about. And we're looking at the 1950s for smartness, and she's saying that that was the smartest time, really. She didn't like all the sloppy kind of wear that was going on of later years. I think that she's been gone. Let me see. No. All right. I see. She has actually been gone quite some years now, and she said she doesn't like the way things have turned out anyway. So she had quite a good opinion of how things should be. And I get the name Margaret being mentioned to me, and also Carol, and yes, and there's a Betty over there as well. And just to say that, the next time you sit down and have a nice cup of tea, just think of her. So I say God bless you, and I hope you have recognised this lady. And there we are. And I shall see if there's somebody else there now. I'm sure that yes, there. Yes, all right. There's quite a few people. We'll get somebody else now. This is a younger man who has come through, very nice, swaggering, saying, look, I'm fine now. He had a debilitating disease, and he says that he thought that he was going to get through it. He was always very fit and active, but it just struck him down, and there was nothing that could be done. He felt quite peaceful before he passed over. He had a cancerous condition. He left behind his lady, and and he talks of a child. So I shall say God bless, because I think this is enough